baby, I thought today's show was going to be over. I thought we were going to talk about Vancouver, about Elias Pettersson, about Elliot Friedman and Patrick Allvin, and that would be it. But no, we have ourselves a trade to dive into here, and it involves one of my favorite prospects back from the 2019 NHL Entry Draft. Because the Boston Bruins have acquired D-man Victor Soderstrom from the Chicago Blackhawks in exchange for Ryan Mast and a 2025 7th-round pick. Now, Victor Soderstrom is a name that I think a lot of folks might remember because of all the videos that we had made about him back in 2018-19. He is the big fish in this trade. Because Soderstrom, current Brinash IF SHL D-man, was an 11th overall pick by Arizona back in 2019. Top 10, top 15 caliber guy, taken right after Vasily Podkolzin when the Vancouver Canucks selected him, 10th overall. Victor Soderstrom famously went before names like Matt Boldy, Spencer Knight, Cam York, Cole Caulfield, Alex Newhook. All of these guys went after Soderstrom. And you can realistically say that it was actually worth the pick back when it was made in 2019. Soderstrom was ranked to go roughly in the range in which he was selected, although the fact that the Arizona Coyotes took him 11th overall was a really big deal. We made a bunch of videos about this afterwards, but it turned out that the Arizona Coyotes actually had Soderstrom 3rd overall on their board, presumably only behind Jack Hughes and Capo Caco. So to see Arizona have Soderstrom so high up on their list, to the point that he was available at 11th, they took him, but they were like, yeah, we had this guy near the top of our draft board. They had him over names like, for example, Bowen Byram, Mo Sider, Cousins, Zegras. I mean, the Arizona Coyotes loved Victor Soderstrom, and it was for a very good reason too. He was a stable, mobile, shutdown D-man who was a right-handed guy too. Swedish right-handed D. Obviously, there was a Vancouver connection that a lot of folks wanted to percolate as well. It's why we made the Why I Want video saying, yeah, if the Canucks draft Soderstrom, it wouldn't be a bad idea. But ultimately, middle-sized right-handed defenseman, that was the scouting report back then. You can see here he was a two-way guy. He thinks the game at the highest level. He's a gifted skater, and his ability to traverse all three zones is best described as smooth and effortless. He never looks disinterested, and it's always apparent just how badly he wants to win. His vision and awareness is great, allowing him to play a responsible yet dynamic brand of hockey. He's a dangerous puck carrier with a great shot. Great shot, really? They said that about him back in 2019? I don't remember that. Defensively, he makes good decisions quickly and consistently, never looking out of place when pitted up against other teams' top players. He pressures the opposition and limits options, never getting in the way of his goalie. That was the report on Soderstrom back in 2019. And if you're a Canucks fan watching this video, essentially everything that Canucks fans think about Tom Willander today is what many draft fans were thinking about Victor Soderstrom back in 2018-19. The problem was, he was inevitably drafted, developed in the Arizona and Tucson systems, but never became a full-time NHL guy. Sure, he had 9 assists in 30 Arizona Coyotes games 2 seasons ago, but that was about it. The season after, he had spent the entire year in the AHL, and then the year after that, he went back to Sweden, posting up 37 points in 49 games played over here. It should be noted as well that Soderstrom, by the time this season went down, he was no longer in the Arizona Coyotes organization. He was back in Chicago. He got sent over to Chicago because he was involved in the Shea Weber trade, and that's like the umpteenth Shea Weber trade we have referred to on this YouTube channel's history. There's like a dozen of them at this point. But Chicago held on to Soderstrom's rights for the past year, and now those rights have been sent over to the Boston Bruins in exchange for Ryan Mast and a 2025 7th round pick. This does seem to be more of a new scenery type of move, a move that will ultimately give Soderstrom the benefit of a brand new NHL opportunity. And the Boston Bruins, they have themselves a lot of spots available, so it makes sense here if they're like, yeah, there's a young guy, he's in Sweden, he had highly touted potential in the past, and now if he wants to come back over to North America, we can use him. So let's go out there and grab this guy. The Chicago Blackhawks, oddly enough, they don't necessarily need more young defensemen. They already had enough of those this previous season. Between Vlasic, you had Rinzel, Levshunov, Korchinski was also there too. There were a bunch of Chicago Blackhawks young dudes that suited up on that blue line and that did make some considerable progress. So for Soderstrom, you can debate maybe he doesn't really have a spot guaranteed if he plays in Chicago. Which is why, heading back over to the Hawks, you have Ryan Mast, a guy who recently played for the Providence Bruins in the AHL, posting up 5 points in 37 games. That's not great. Now, he is also a right-handed defenseman. He's a lot bigger than Soderstrom is, but Mast definitely does not have that same star power nor potential that Soderstrom once had. Mast was a 6th-round pick by Boston back in 2021. So if you wanted to just look at the qualifications for the assets that got moved around here, the Boston Bruins traded away a 6th-round pick and a 7th-round pick for a guy who was drafted 11th overall. That's some pretty good work by the Boston Bruins. Although, as we had said, it's not necessarily like Chicago was looking at this trade like, they lost it. They lost out on a guy that wasn't even playing in their organization because he was in Sweden. They lost out on the rights to a guy that was looking for an NHL opportunity, one that he didn't end up getting with the Arizona Coyotes, and now he's apparently going to get that in Boston. So we'll see whether or not Victor Soderstrom is able to become that solid top 4 shutdown D like we thought he'd be able to be, or if at 24 years old, it's already kind of winding down his NHL potential. Maybe he gets a few games here and there with the Boston Bruins and spends the rest of the year in Providence. At the very least for Chicago, Ryan Mast is a guy who is a bit younger. He's only 22, so there is a little bit more breathing room here if you were to project Mast as an NHL potential player longer term. But we'll just have to wait and see what the Rockford Ice Hog system has in store for him, what the rest of the Chicago Blackhawks organization has for these guys. I mean, just looking at the D-Corps, the guys who had suited up this previous year, I mean, there are a number of guys that I think are interesting. Nolan Allen had a significant role. Crevier had some games. Del Maestro had some games too. There are a number of guys here who have had small little opportunities for the for the Blackhawks, and Soderstrom was not going to get that guarantee, I think. So heading over to Boston, there are a few more spots up for grabs. This makes sense in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Victor Soderstrom and the fact that he is now on to his 3rd NHL team after being an 11th overall pick all the way back in 2019. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this trade over here. Soderstrom for Mast and a 7th-round pick. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.